Okay, so this is how to prep the class with the serviette as a background. So I'm using a palette knife, but you could use your scraper. I'll just grab a scraper. So this is your old store card. So I'm just using that to scrape the gesso onto the page. I mean, it's not too thick, but it's not too thin. So you can see that it's quite lumpy. And we need to work quickly because I need it to be still wet. So we've separated the serviette from the backing. And I'm just going to lay this down over the page. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit creased. As you know, I sort of like that texture. And I've just overlapped this a little bit because I've actually had two halves of a serviette, but you would just lay the whole thing down. So I'm just pressing it lightly down with my fingers, and then where that's stuck, I'm just going to sort of pull it away. Now this is if you're joining, so if yours tears, it doesn't matter because you can just collage it together like this. And as you can see, you can hardly see where it joins. The pattern is not going to be that distinctly visible from the end of the page. Oops. So try not to do that because I just made a great big hole in it, which is okay. I'm just going to leave that how it is. So what to do then is you can let this dry, and then you can just cut around the edge here. When it's dry, it's quite easy just to cut off with scissors. You can use the edge of your card to rip the edge off as well, then just stick it in. And then what I would like then is you can leave this dry totally, and then I want you to put a light layer of gesso over the top of this so it's not so black and white. So I'll just do that and show you. So this is quite dry. I'll just show you how you can either just rip these edges off if you don't mind the rough edge, so that's sort of a torn edge, or you can just grab your scissors and cut along the edge, which makes it neater. So if I've got a big overhang like that I'd sort of want a bit neater, I just cut it off at the edges. Same with that. I'll put a bit of gesso underneath the other side, but I would just sort of cut off the edge like that. So once that's dry, just want you to do a light layer of gesso. So I want it to be quite thin so that you can still see the pattern underneath, but it's just toned it down a bit. So if you want to spread it a little bit, you could just put some water on the page first so it'll spread. That's one option, but I wouldn't get too much gesso in that paintbrush, so I only use that to put the water down. And then sort of spread it over. If you wanted to thin it out, remember you can use your fingers and you can just dip them in water to spread it out. So I just want sort of a milky layer of gesso. So probably with your fingers would be alright. It's quite messy, but you actually get a nice light layer. And if this is really dry, you're not going to rub up the background, so don't worry about that. So sort of just rub it in, rub it on the top. So it's just a nice milky whitewashed layer of gesso on the background. Some areas can be a bit more solid, but I actually want the ghost of the pattern through there. So that would be where I would leave that now, and then you can totally leave that to dry, and then we'll be ready for the class.